Following Michigan State's narrow loss at home to Duke, Izzo had this to say in the post-game press conference, remarking on the job that Jon Scheyer has done since he took over in Durham. He said this. I mean, the jobs, John, gosh, a lot saying the jobs to Johns. That's a lot of J's. Anyway, let me try this quote one more time, Dion. Izzo said, "The job that John has done, I'm in awe of. Most people don't want to follow a legend. He followed an icon, barf, and he's done a hell of a job." End quote. I added the barf in there for the record. Izzo did not say that. But as I read this quote, as much as I hate to admit it, I think he's right. You know, it's hard for me as a rival fan to look at what Shire has done in Duke, how they haven't skipped a beat. It's like you can pick apart the tournament success the first year, getting swept by Carolina the second year, but the last two, but they still maintained high levels of play throughout the year, and even the past two. I think, of course, last year I would say was one of probably the two or three best rosters I've ever seen constructed in my time as a fan of the sport, in my time covering the sport. Of course, they get almost all the way to the mountaintop and fall just short. But then to turn around and to have no lingering effect of that, they didn't let any sort of hangover come over them following blowing that lead against Houston. They don't seem to have any ill effects of losing one superstar in Cooper Flag and two more just like borderline superstars, at least at the college level, in Common Malawach and Con Knipple. They're sitting here at 10-0 with five really quality wins, and this most recent one capturing a victory at the Brez. I mean, that's among one of the toughest things to do in this sport. Like, there's just nothing you can do to pick apart Shire's resume anymore. When you look at how he's getting it done off the court, staff hires he's made, the way he puts guys in position to succeed, how he maximizes his talent. Dion, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think I would take Shire right now over Coach K, like the final 5-ish years of K's career.
What was K's last year? Paolo?
Yeah, his last year was Paulo. They lost in the Final Four to UNC. I'm trying to
I think
think.
Zion, RJ, Cam is in that final 5 years.
It is, but that team lost in the Elite Eight. You know, like they left some meat on the bone. He left some meat on the bone with all these teams.
Um, yeah,
I
but
think
also like sick teams though.
he did. I mean, he accumulated crazy amounts of talent and had a ton of big moments. I think Duke fans would probably be like, I use the word slightly, and I don't want to. I mean, Duke fans might weigh in on this and tell me I'm an idiot. But I would guess they would be a little disappointed with how some of those years ended. I mean, they had Zion, RJ, Cam, 2019, Elite Eight. The year before, they had Marvin Bagley, Wendell Carter, Grayson Allen, Elite Eight. Like, both those teams fell short of the Final Four. 2017, Jason Tatum, Harry Giles, Frank Jackson losing the second round of the tournament. I mean, you get to 2020, they that team was pretty good with Vernon Carey. Obviously, no tournament. 2021, they miss it altogether. Jalen Johnson quits the team midseason. 2022, yeah, that team was sick with Paulo, but you lost to your hated rival in like the two most important games of the season. So that to me is like, even again from a Carolina fan perspective, this is, I would say, how me and my group of idiots would view this. Like, those last few years of Coach K, a lot of times it felt like, okay, he is going to get 3 to 4 top 10 recruits, and they're usually going to be awesome by February or March. But they'll probably drop some games they shouldn't, either in the non-con or the early part of the ACC slate. Well, now you look at what Shire's doing, particularly these past 2 years, and he's not just getting these loaded recruiting classes, he's maximizing them right away, where they're not losing games they shouldn't anymore. They're not no showing. Like, he hasn't had a bad loss since like 2023 when they dropped one, I think, at Georgia Tech, like Kyle Filipowski's second year there. They just don't do that anymore. It just seems like he has all this youth and they just succeed right away.
Yeah, I mean he is better equipped for this era than Coach K.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would go with that. You know what I mean? Like I think Coach K he didn't just leave meat on the bone his final 5 years. I think he left meat on the bone once he went to like the one and done tactic. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that was. I think Coach K is such a good coach. He can make whatever work. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that was best equipped for him. I think it's more equipped for Shire.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Zion team was way better than any team Shire's had. I just don't think Coach K can coach them the way Shire can coach a group of freshmen.
I like that angle. I still would take last year's team over Zion's team pretty easily, like with no questions asked. That Zion team lost some games that should, and like Zion missed some time, but I just thought last year's team was like you couldn't score against them, and they made every big shot at every perfect moment. It felt like throughout the year, but yeah, I think in terms of looking at how like K's legacy and the way he adapted and changed with the times in hindsight, what he did with pivoting to the one and done era, it set Duke up for success after he retired. So I give him credit for that. It did seem like he got away from his roots in terms of just those developmental unheralded guys. But maybe that's why if you're a Duke fan, you feel like there was a little bit left untapped, like when he hung it up. But yeah, with Scheyer, we can come back to this game in particular against Michigan State. I really thought he showed off like the full chops of his coaching acumen in this one. Like some of the adjustments he made to keep Boozer engaged with which maybe Boozer just easy to coach. I feel like everything we read about this kid is he's just fierce competitor, incredible leader, and you probably don't have to say much after going 1 for 4 in the first half with 2 points to light a fire underneath him. But even that adjustment to go to the zone, like when Michigan State saw that zone against Duke down the stretch, it seemed like they forgot how to play basketball. And it's just little subtle things like that where it's not the most revolutionary thing in the world, but to have the boldness to trust your team in that spot and to not like get super hung up on like, oh, we only have to play man to man. That's like what real tough teams do or whatever. But to realize like, this team doesn't have the defensive ceiling that I think that last year's did, but they still have positional length across the board, and they're going against a team that has made some shots, but I wouldn't say is a good shooting one with Michigan State. To just completely take them out of rhythm, yeah, I could see why Izzo was sort of gushing over Scheyer in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, Shire is the best coach for this era. 100%.
Hmm.
100%. The best, probably best coach in the country. NIL, one and done. He's basically Calipari, but younger,
Yeah.
right? And I think Calipari would be the best coach for this era if he was able to relate to the players a little bit more. But
Hmm.
Shire can relate to them in a way a Calipari can't, but he is essentially John Calipari.
Yeah.
So I get why Izzo's gushing over him because not only is he really amazing for this era, he's reminiscent of a guy that I think Izzo's really close to as well.
That's a good point. Yeah, and even like with Scheyer and what one of the most impressive things that I think you can do as a coach is like get that buy-in from your team to instill confidence in them to stick by someone like Caleb Foster who is much maligned very even on this YouTube channel plenty of times. And he comes up massive with a huge shot. I know it bounced around the rim 5 times, but it fell. That's all that matters. And it just seems like these past 2 years, whenever Duke has needed a big bucket, they've gotten it. I go back to Isaiah Evans's game winner against Florida just a week ago, where like they hit those types of shots. And on one hand, you give the players plenty of credit for having the confidence and the ability to step in and step up in that moment. But I think so much of that comes back to what are you doing as a coach to prepare them for that moment? What position are you putting them in to get them a clean look? How do they know that they're either developing to refine those skills, the finer things that maybe they got away with in high school, they're now not doing anymore. Or they have improved because your staff is so good, and even like off the court from a psychological perspective, to know that your coach believes in them, to call them in that moment, and to give them that freedom. Yeah, I think all of that stuff is so vastly important beyond just being able to recruit a really good roster. So.
Agreed, agreed. But with that in mind, Shire has some like mistakes he makes too. I also think, for what it's worth, I think Coach K wins with that group last year. I think Coach K gets
Yeah.
the ball in bounds.
I mean, that's a good counterpoint, Dion, where it's like that was the first time where you saw the lights maybe being too bright for Shire and his, but I would say that trickles down to the entire team.
Sure.
Um, the bad news for me is like I got another couple decades of this probably with Shire. I need an NBA team to just go and actually no, because then Duke will just make a really smart hire if Shire leaves. So just
I also, for what it's worth, like I don't view Shire as an NBA coach. Like he wouldn't be on my short list of guys I would expect to make that jump.
hmm. I think as long as he keeps winning the way that he is at Duke, he's going to have great job security for one of the best jobs in the sport to where it can be hard to pry him away. I wouldn't be. It feels something like you're telling me that like the Knicks or the Lakers or the Celtics or someone, if they needed a new coach, wouldn't make a push for it though? Like to me, that would seem. It
I mean,
feels like maybe a big market team at least would put some feelers out there for him. I can't imagine he leaves Duke to go take like the Cavaliers job or something.
if Cam Boozer gets drafted to the Bulls, in his hometown Chicago Bulls make a phone call, I could be convinced.
Hmm.
But I think if you just look at it from like a neutral, like remove all the biases away, like I think Nate Oates, Todd Golden, and Dan Hurley are like one, two, three in terms of coaches that would get that phone call.
Uh-huh.
And I think Shire would be like a distant five or six.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's probably at Duke for life. But anything else regarding like so for me, for this coming from Tom Izzo, where I mean, I think Izzo has are how many there's maybe like two or three coaches I would take ahead of Izzo right now with the heater he's been on, where he did things his way and now he's like getting the recruits to go with it. That to me just like it means even more from this quote that's coming from someone who has had almost like multiple levels of his career where he or multiple stages, let's say, where now he's in this like he's nearing the finish line, but said a couple weeks ago that he's not quitting anytime soon. For him to recognize Shire and the job that he's doing here, I think as a Duke fan, it's like, yeah, I would hold the opinion. Like the opinion from this coach feels more than just coach speak.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Izzo has any need to say stuff like this.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
he's saying it because he means it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. The NBA element of it is very interesting to me. Like the more I think about it, the more I could see it. But also, I don't. He doesn't feel like an NBA dude to me. I don't know why. Like he just doesn't.
I would, yeah, I'm in a lose-lose situation with that, Dion, because like Shire goes to the NBA, I'm happy, but then they make a call and bring like Todd Golden to Durham, I'm sad. You know,
I
it's
don't think
it's
they would do that.
we'll
I
see.
I
Hopefully
think
hopefully they go back to the Brotherhood well and just stick with that forever instead of going
what's
outside of
funny
that.
is I think maybe Shire's way to the league is JJ Redick failing, and then JJ Redick
And
goes
then
back to Duke.
then JJ comes back. Yeah, yeah. Which I would rather that than some other options. But anyway, shout out to Shire. I got to give respect where it's due. He's hired a great staff. He's been super innovative, really from the jump, and once again has another team that looks elite.